Have you ever wondered why the hummingbird is considered the sacred bird of love, where Aphrodite really comes from, how she came to be considered the most beautiful goddess of all, and how she has influenced our perception of love and beauty over the centuries? If you have wondered this and want to know more, this is the perfect video for you. Discover the secrets of Aphrodite, from her mysterious origin to her famous stories in Greek mythology. You are joining this adventure, so let's get started. Aphrodite is one of the most famous goddesses in Greek mythology and is considered the goddess of love, beauty, and sexuality. Her story is very interesting and has many mysterious elements. According to Greek mythology, Aphrodite is the daughter of the Titan Uranus and the Titanoid Gaia, Uranus heaven and Gaia the earth, and together they had many children, including the Titans and Titanides. But Uranus hated his children and locked them in Tartarus. Gaia was very angry with this and asked her sons to take revenge on Uranus. One of her sons, Cronus, volunteered and, with the help of Gaia, managed to strike down Uranus and cut off his testicles, threw the spoils of this action into the sea, on the shores of Paphos, on the island of Cyprus. From the mixture of the semen and blood of Uranus with the foam of the ocean, the goddess of love, now an adult, was born. Aphrodite became one of the most important and powerful goddesses on Olympus and had many lovers, both humans and gods. She also had many children, including Eros, the god of love, and Anteros, the god of requited love. Aphrodite is known for her beauty and her power to make men and women fall madly in love with her. Her cult originated in Phoenician mythology and was adopted by the Greeks through the cults of the Phoenician goddess Astarte. In art and literature, Aphrodite is often depicted with symbolism such as the anchor, lion and shield, and is often accompanied by the sacred bird of love, the hummingbird. Aphrodite was involved in many Greek myths, such as her deception of Hephaestus, her relationship with Adonis, her involvement in the Trojan War and many more. So let's look at the first one about how she deceived her husband Hephaestus. Because of her immense beauty, Zeus feared that Aphrodite was the cause of violence among the other gods, so he married her to Hephaestus. Another version of this story tells that Hera, Hephaestus' mother, threw him out of Olympus because she considered him ugly and deformed. He got his revenge by trapping her on a magic throne and demanding the hand of Aphrodite in exchange for her release. Aphrodite's unhappiness with her marriage made her seek the company of others, especially Ares, the Olympian god of war. Aphrodite cheated on her husband Hephaestus with Ares in her own bed. Ares put Electrian on guard to act as sentinel at the door and warn him of the coming of the day. Electrian fell asleep, and Helios, god of the sun, who from high in the firmament contemplates all the activities of gods and mortals, discovered the infidelity of Aphrodite and ran to the forge of Hephaestus to reveal the deception to the god, who, irritated, decided to devise a deception to humiliate his wife and her lover. At a moment when Ares and Aphrodite were copulating in bed, Hephaestus surprised them and threw over them the magic net. The lovers were trapped by the artifact. Hephaestus, to humiliate them and make clear the betrayal of his wife, called all the gods to contemplate their naked bodies intertwined. Aphrodite, ashamed, begged her husband to release her, promising to break her relationship with Ares. Hephaestus, softened by the pleas of his wife, decided to remove the net and end the torture to which he had subjected the two lovers. Aphrodite fled to Paphos in Cyprus, while Ares took refuge in Thrace and, furious with his servant Electrian, transformed him into a rooster so that he would never forget to announce the arrival of the sun. From this love affair would be born their first son together, Eros. Now we will see the myth of Aphrodite and Myrrha and how this led to the myth of Adonis. The ancient authors tell that Myrrha, daughter of the king of Cyprus, claimed to be as beautiful as Aphrodite herself. In punishment for this insolence, the goddess made in the chest of the young girl to ignite an uncontainable passion for his own father. Knowing that he would refuse incestuous relations with his daughter, Myrrha told Hippolyte, the family nurse, who helped her with the plan. Hippolyte told the king about a girl who wanted to be with him, only if they were with the lights off. The girl became pregnant, and when her father discovered the dishonor that had fallen on the family, he tried to kill Myrrha. She then begged the gods to save her life, and they, heeding his plea, turned it into a tree, which henceforth would bear the name of the girl. the myrrh tree. However, the gestation of her child was at such an advanced stage that from the bark of the tree a beautiful baby was born and was deposited at the feet of the plant. The goddess Aphrodite discovered the baby and adopted him, naming him Adonis. In order for him to grow up safely, she entrusted his care to Persephone, queen of Hell, who raised the baby until he reached adolescence. When Aphrodite returned to Hell to fetch him, Persephone refused to return custody of Adonis. In the face of the goddesses' dispute, Zeus ruled that the young man should spend 1/3 of the year with Persephone, 1/3 with Aphrodite and 1/3 with whomever he wished. After his return to Earth, the young Adonis developed a great fondness for hunting, a passion in which the goddess Aphrodite accompanied him whenever she could. Although he enjoyed the protection of the divinities, Adonis was immortal, and as such could die at the hands of the beasts he tried to hunt. Aphrodite warned him of the dangers he ran in each hunt. On one occasion when he was trying to hunt a huge wild boar, it turned against Adonis and, after castrating him with its tusks, killed the young man. Some authors claim that the boar was sent by the god Ares, jealous of the relationship that Aphrodite, his lover, had with the beautiful Adonis. The goddess Aphrodite, upon discovering the corpse of the young man, turned every drop of his blood into an anemone, so that his death would be honored in every flowering of this plant. From this moment on, many cities established a cult to the deceased young man in which he was associated with Aphrodite. Interesting these two myths, but that is not enough for the goddess of love, and is that Aphrodite has many more. But before you see them, I want you to subscribe to the channel to not miss more interesting content. Now let's continue. The goddess Aphrodite had a leading role in numerous episodes of the Trojan cycle, helping at all times to the armies of Priam. The origin of her relationship with the Trojans dates back to a few decades before the war broke out. Both gods and goddesses and various mortals were invited to the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. Only the goddess Eris was not invited, but appeared with a golden apple with the word Callistii for most beautiful inscribed, which she threw among the goddesses. Aphrodite, Hera and Athena claimed to be the most beautiful and therefore the rightful owner of the apple. They agreed to bring the matter before Zeus, who, not wanting the favor of any goddess, left the choice in the hands of Paris of Troy. Hera tried to bribe him with a kingdom, while Athena offered him wisdom, fame and glory in battle. But Aphrodite whispered that if he declared that she was the most beautiful, she would give him the most beautiful mortal woman in the world as wife. So Paris chose Aphrodite. This woman was Helen. Helen was a young woman, daughter of Zeus, considered the most beautiful woman in all the earth. Paris was captivated by the beauty of Helen, and at that moment, Aphrodite fulfilled her promise, making Helen fall madly in love with the Trojan prince. When Menelaus returned and discovered the abduction of his wife, he decided to declare war on the city of Troy, which was the origin of the conflict. Another myth is that of Aura. Aura was the goddess of the breezes and cousin of Artemisia. Dionysus fell in love with her and always tried to reach her, but Aura, swift as the wind, always managed to escape from him. Dionysus asked Aphrodite for help, who made Aura surrender to the god. Aura went mad because, like her cousin, she was a virgin hunter and was proud of her chastity, which had now been profaned. She had twins, and in her madness she ate one of them. The other was saved by Artemis. She threw herself into the river Sangarios and Zeus transformed her into a fountain. Iacchus, the son saved by Artemis, would become Demeter's assistant and a guide of the Eleusinian mysteries. There was also the myth of the curse of Lemnos. Curse of Lemnos. On the island of Lemnos, the women decided to suppress the cult of the goddess of love. Aphrodite punished the women of the island by making them smell bad. As the women smelled bad, the men began to leave and marry the women of Thrace. Vengeful, the women of the island killed all the men for the betrayal of their people. For a long time, the island was inhabited only by women. The myth of Derceto tells us that Derceto was a beautiful woman who dared to offend Aphrodite, who punished her by giving her a passionate love for Castro, a priest of the goddess. From this love Semiramis was born, who would become queen of Babylon. After this event, Derceto stopped feeling love for Castro and realizing what she had done, she had the man killed, abandoned her baby and threw herself into the sea in order to commit suicide. The gods did not allow the death of Derceto and gave her a new morphology, half human, half fish. To finish, we will see the myth of Aphrodite and Psyche. Aphrodite appears as a secondary character in the story of Eros and Psyche. In it, Aphrodite was jealous of the beauty of a mortal woman named Psyche. She asked her son Eros to use his golden arrows to make Psyche fall in love with the ugliest man in the world. Eros agreed, but ended up falling in love with Psyche himself. Meanwhile, Psyche's parents were worried that their daughter would remain unmarried. They consulted an oracle who told them that she was not destined for any mortal lover, but for a creature who lived on top of a certain mountain, whom even the gods feared. Eros had prepared the oracle to say this. Psyche resigned herself to her fate and climbed to the top of the mountain, asking the citizens following her to leave her and allow her to face her fate alone. There Zephyrus, the west wind, gently floated her down to a cave. Psyche entered and was surprised to find her full of jewels and ornaments. Eros visited her every night in the cave and they made passionate love. He asked her only that she never light any lamps because he did not want Psyche to know who he was. His wings made him unmistakable. Her two sisters, jealous, convinced her that her husband was a monster and that she should stick a dagger in him. So one night, she lit a lamp, but recognized Eros instantly and dropped her dagger. A drop of hot oil fell on Eros' shoulder, awakened him and he fled, saying, "Love cannot live where there is no trust." When Psyche told her jealous older sisters, they secretly rejoiced and each went separately to the top of the mountain and did as Psyche had told them to enter the cave, hoping that Eros would prefer them. Eros was still heartbroken and would not accept them, so they died as they fell to the base of the mountain. The young Psyche, desperate for having lost the love of Eros, made a plea to Aphrodite. The goddess promised to reveal the whereabouts of her son as long as Psyche managed to milk a large mountain of grains in a specific time, a task clearly impossible for a mortal. Eros, seeing the despair of his beloved, decided to help her secretly, and made some ants to collaborate with the young woman in the task. Aphrodite, amazed that the young woman had succeeded in the task, decided to entrust her with another test. The goddess did not warn Psyche that the sheep were extremely dangerous and aggressive, looking for the young woman to die in the attempt to get the wool. Luckily for Psyche, the god of the river next to which the animals grazed warned the young woman of the danger, recommending her to approach the sheep only when they were asleep in the shade. Psyche heeded the advice of the god of the river and thus got the wool. The last test that Aphrodite put to the girl was to descend to hell to ask Persephone for part of her beauty, so that it would allow Eros, depressed by the absence of his beloved, to regain his former splendor, as much as she looked for a way to enter the underworld. Psyche found no entrance. Desperate, she decided that the fastest way would be death, so she climbed a tower ready to throw herself to take her own life. At the last moment, a voice from the heavens stopped her and revealed to the young woman the secrets to enter and leave hell. Psyche heeded this advice and managed to reach Persephone, who, delighted to share her beauty with Aphrodite, gave her what the young woman asked for. Before this proof of love, Aphrodite softened in her anger and decided to allow the relationship of Psyche with her son. Zeus made the young woman immortal, so that she could share all eternity with her beloved Eros. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about the goddess Aphrodite and her many stories in Greek mythology. If you want to continue exploring the world of mythology, do not forget to subscribe to our channel to not miss any video. See you next time and thanks for joining us on this journey through the history of Aphrodite.